And away we go. I'm not liking this already. What I'm about to say in the next few minutes. It has to be done though. It has to be said. I think people should know about what is yet to come, what is yet to happen. So starting off with, Risk 11 had something to say in regards to the new hard right-wing party launched by Rupert Lowe, named Restore Britain. This is a party that allegedly leans more to the right on most issues than Reform UK, which a lot of people on the left are saying is a far-right party. Well, they got the right-wing part correct. I'm not sure Reform are that far into the right. That's just me. Honestly, I'd say Restore Britain is the party that leans more to the right than Reform, and this is and that that in question is that exactly that what Risk gets into, and I'll read to you what Risk 11 said. There, he responds with, "Why are so many idiots that backing Restore? They have no chance. I'm being honest. I don't exactly mind Lowe, but he has no real way to get in. He only know by the terminally online right. An everyday normal voter won't know who he is. And only people that back him are fringe extreme right. Moderates won't vote for him. We're facing a coalition of left wing in 2028, and Restore Britain could cost Reform very important crucial seats. For what they won't win seats. It took Farage 30 years to get elected. Multiple failed parties, failed attempts. On the failed attempts part, yeah, that is very true. It took Farage decades to even be an MP. Before the last general election, where he won as to be elected as an MP for the first time ever, he was a member of European Parliament for UKIP, and then the Brexit Party before Brexit happened, hence the name the Brexit Party, which is now renamed to Reform UK. So yeah, it took decades for Farage to get to where he is today. I will say, whilst Reform are certainly going to be in charge of the next government at the next general election, I'm not ruling out Restore Britain to take seats whose voter base leans more to the right than what the current base is for Reform. Because again, this new party that Rupert Lowe has launched has a lot of policies that leans more to the right than what Reform currently stands on right now. Most of the people that would ever vote for Restore Britain are those that are very hard towards the right. And I'd say whatever Restore Britain aims to do, if they ever get to be the next government, which they won't be, at least certainly not in the next 2 decades at the earliest, Reform are in for quite a ride. Reform may be getting a handful of wins across the nation, whether it be locally or even at the national level. Reform should not be thinking this will be easy, even with strong opposition. Reform should not be thinking, oh, we could just win multiple seats across multiple local councils. Who's not to say there won't be another party that may share similar values, if not have policies that lead more towards, harder towards the right than the current party as Reform stands now. Risk does make a good point that people supporting Restore Britain will split the vote between them and Reform. I will say that there's still going to be lots of people that actually would still support Reform over Restore Britain. And even when knowing that Reform is going to still win multiple seats at multiple levels across the nation, week in, week out, having the presence of Restore Britain and looking at how many people, what percentage of people living in local areas vote for Restore Britain compared to other parties, this is only showing the rise of the broader right-wing umbrella. Just having the Tories and Reform, as it is now, That's enough. It was already enough to see how vast that the general right-wing umbrella was growing. Now with Restore Britain on the radar, the national radar, who's who knows what could happen in the next few years? Who knows how many people would vote for a party that leans to the right? Not just Reform, not just Restore Britain, and not even just the Tories, if they're still winning seats wherever they are, or keeping on to seats they currently have. So I can't lie to you. And I do not support whatever these parties are doing at the moment, whatever happens in the next few years. It is inevitable. This is only the beginning. You think this has started at the last general election? This is only getting started. The general right-wing umbrella in the UK was only expanding as it is, with Reform being high up as being the favourites to win the next general election. Now with Restore Britain, now also entering the national radar, the general right-wing umbrella population or space is going to grow at levels beyond our own comprehension. That is not to say that other left-wing parties or Lib Dems, as centre-left centre party, aren't going to be phased out. They will still exist, and they will still be winning seats in the most urban areas and communities. Watch this space. I'm not going to be on board with whatever these parties are proposing, or what they're going to do in the next few years. This is going to get juicy. You better get the popcorn. And who knows, maybe chances of Reform winning multiple seats could be jeopardized, because Restore Britain is running in areas where their support is much bigger, and that party themselves could also win seats for themselves in local levels. We'll just have to wait and see what is yet to come. So yeah, Eric Taylor sent a post from Twitter X by the account name The Middle East at A_M_R_M1. The caption reads, Egyptian actress Zaina Wessam Rida Ismail has made headlines in Egypt after announcing that she, her children, her mother, and her siblings have officially been recognized as descendants of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The actress commented, I used to be shy about telling people that I am a descendant of the Prophet, because they might think I was lying, but not anymore. It is worth noting that Egypt's Ashraf Syndicate issued an official certificate confirming that her lineage traces back to the Prophet. Following a review of the submitted documents, how can someone obtain a certificate of noble lineage in Egypt? According to the established procedures, the requirements include 1. A copy of the national ID card, 2. A birth certificate, 3. Trustworthy witnesses testifying that the lineage is well known and historically established. Number 4. A certified statement from the local mayor, area sheikhs, and district chief. Number 5. Through recognized genealogy books in Egypt or other Arab countries. In an official statement, the Ashraf Syndicate confirmed the authenticity of Zaina's lineage and that of his 2 sons, stressing that lineage verification is based strictly on documented evidence and official records, not personal claims. The syndicate emphasized that noble lineage is an established right that cannot be granted or revoked arbitrarily, and that all submitted documents were verified and approved by the relevant authorities, putting an end to the controversy. So, this is not a rumor. This is not it's not a way to get attention or to clout chase in any way. There is, from what I've just read, this is all certified by local and national authorities and other witnesses saying, yes, these people are direct lineage of the Prophet Muhammad. So, of course, I know this is a big deal in many Muslim majority countries. So now we're hearing that there is certified proof that a celebrity, an actress in Egypt, is a descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, along with her siblings, her children, and her mother. Eric responded directly to that post saying, "What would you guys do if you were a descendant of Muhammad?" And you know what? That is a very good question. I have so many ideas I can say. I feel like we might get back to the story another time, so I'll put a pin on that until then. Even if it takes years, I will be prepared to say, well, what would I do if I was a descendant of Muhammad? It sounds like a big deal to a lot of Muslims, so of course, it is big. It is big headline news, not just in Egypt, but other Arab countries. It'll be interesting to see. One of the Twitter X users commented directly to that post that Eric shared. Username Kababi at Kababi commented at Grok, "How true is this?" And then Grok responded, "This appears true on February 16th, 2026. Egyptian news site Masrawi reported that the Ashraf Syndicate issued a certificate confirming actress Zaina and her children's descent from Prophet Muhammad. Based on verified documents, the syndicate stated it's an inherent right, not arbitrary." Another Twitter X user responded to Grok's comments, account name no longer living on the go, at Sealent underscore existence, spelt with an X at the start. Commenting, "Link to the website, question mark." Grok responded saying, "Here's the Masrawi article confirming the Ashraf Syndicate statement on Zaina's lineage." Then there's the link to the website in question and other Arabic characters, which I'll be honest, I cannot understand. If I was learning more Arabic, then yeah, I could understand a bit of it. It's been a while since I've learned Arabic. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, this is not a rumor. This is not an attempt to get attention. There are procedures, and there are other layers of verification, not just through witnesses in the family, but also local authorities in Arabic countries. So I know this would be a big deal amongst Muslim people, so it's not surprising that there is so much work to be done to show that someone is a direct descendant of Muhammad. So yeah, in my opinion, it makes a lot of sense that there would be this much layers of verification to ensure that this person is not lying. They are telling the truth. The DNA samples proves so. And yeah, and that is that. Just a few minutes after I said that, after I sent a thread to that post that Eric shared, I was just going through Twitter X for some reason, just because I was bored. And then, for some reason, it came across another Twitter X thread. I was certain I shared it. There it is. So, it came across a Twitter X post by BBC Politics at BBC Politics, and the caption reads, "Reform councillor defects to the Conservatives." Yes, this is true. The BBC has said it themselves. Not saying that you shouldn't be listening to them. You just can't argue with that. Surely someone else would say, "Oh no, this is not true," but this is actually true. A Reform councillor defected to the Tories. When the last few defections we've heard was from the Tories, they defected to Reform. So now the turns have tabled. How funny is that? So, this thread in question, which caught my eye, a Twitter X user commented directly to the post in question by the name of Red Amber Black, of course, tagged Grok in it, saying, "Why did he leave?" with at Grok at the start. Grok responded, saying, "John Roddy, Warrington's Reform councillor, defected to the Tories, citing the party's failure to address local financial issues like $1.8 billion debt, £1.8 billion debt, and budget cuts. He said his concerns were unanswered and reform lacks detailed policies or team structure. Reform expelled him, claiming he aimed to damage their interests. Sources: BBC and Warrington Guardian. Red Amber Black commented to Grok's response, saying, "Was it the Conservatives that created that debt?" Grok then responded saying, "No. Warrington Borough Council has been Labour-controlled since 2011. The £1.8 billion debt arose from commercial investments, like property and energy projects during Labour's tenure. Amid funding cuts, Conservatives haven't held control in that time." Sources: BBC, UK Government, and The Guardian. So just reading that small thread, I have a lot of questions. Because what started out as a reform to Tories' defection has gone into what's going on in Warrington. And of course, the concerns that John Roddy, the former Warrington Reform Councillor, had said are the issues. I need to really wrap my hand around this again, because this is quite the gymnastics for sure. So, of course, since 2011, Labour had held control in Warrington Borough Council. This Twitter X user that responded saying, "Wasn't the Tories created that debt?" Which is what John Roddy called out reform for. Now, in my head, that doesn't make any sense. And just reading this part here, reform expelled him from the party, claiming he aimed to damage their interests. What interest was John Roddy trying to destroy with reform? I don't know, man. I'm trying to understand whatever this is. Former councillor, current Warrington councillor, jumped from reform to the Tories, citing the party's failure to address local financial issues. Is this about reform, or is it about Labour, the party that's currently controlling Warrington Borough Council? I'll leave it there, because if anyone has anything to explain regarding any of that, I would like to hear it. UK Labour, they're in hot water right now, and they're continuing to go down in the polls. They will lose seats in the next wave of local elections. I've already said enough on that. Yeah, if no one else would say it, then I would. And if I don't say it, then someone else would. And so on. I just saw that thread because I was just scrolling on Twitter X, looking at other Grok replies that people asking for Grok on, "Can you verify this research? Can you verify this information?" And Grok, is this true that this person is indeed a slimy frog? Okay, that last one may not be true, or a Twitch or a post like that even exists. But it'd be funny if he did. It'd be very funny if that did. I was just curious what people were using Grok for, and just that was one of the few small threads that just caught my eye. How does that make sense? This man was expelled from his previous party because they failed to cite problems that was somehow that was held responsible under a different party, which is currently in control of a particular local council in question for at least a decade, more than a decade. So yeah, I don't know what else to say from there. All right, moving on. Eric Taylor again shared another Twitter X post from the account John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr. at _17 to letter 4. Interesting username. The caption reads, "Japan unveils new anti-Islam laws. Halal banned. Large mosques banned. Call to prayer banned. Praying in the street banned." They've basically said Islam is not welcome in Japan. Go home. That was the caption. That's the caption that was read in that Twitter X post. Eric responded to that post saying based exclamation mark. Now this is going to be a hot take, in my opinion. Whilst there will be issues amongst groups of people, doesn't matter what the identity of groups of people I'm talking about, the point I'm making is there are going to be faults, there are going to be flaws, and there are going to be characteristics of those particular people groups that's going to turn people the wrong way. And to some extent may have people be concerned for their own safety. One thing is for sure, if anyone's going to cause any problems or trouble, then don't be surprised if people are going to say, people like you shouldn't be allowed here. Again, it's not okay. That there are people going to point exactly to the identity of those people groups, saying, you people are exactly the reason why this country is failing. And again, it is not true for everyone. Even if that is true for some people, you cannot just point to say, you can't just put the blame on anyone that is identified as such people groups, ethnicity, religion, or race, or other identifier for people. I will say that. Personally, I don't have any problems with other people's culture, customs, or background, so long as we respect each other. Now, unfortunately, I can't say that is true for a lot of places around the world. There are going to be people that's going to assert their dominance in foreign lands. There's nothing else for me to say from there. I don't mind to see foreigners anywhere, and I don't mind going to other countries and visit other cultures. One thing to be concerned about is there are particular groups of people that are giving their identity a bad name. Not that it's intentional. Again, do not be surprised when governments, either at local or national level, will point to these traits of these said groups of people, saying, your kind is not welcome here. You want to practice those customs, go back to your own place. That's what they'll say. Again, I'm not agreeing with it. That is the point in our society we're coming down to. And there is no way of convincing otherwise. There is no way convincing people that we should allow others to go on about their day with their customs or culture. Whilst everyone is entitled to do so, don't drag people into it, especially if they don't want to and they are against said culture or customs. If people don't want to do stuff, that is okay. Don't think everyone's going to be on board with what your ideas are and what your lifestyle is. I'll leave it at that. Alright, so Eric Taylor's sent another Twitter post by the account Dom Lucre, breaker of narratives at Dom Lucre. The caption reads, breaking. Stephen A. Smith appears to making his bid to run for president after announcing his stance on the border. Smith saying, we wouldn't have a border crisis under my watch. We ain't defunding any police. There's gonna be more. The words of Stephen A. Smith himself. He actually said that. And you know what? I don't argue with it. So long as no violence. I don't want to see any violence. I had enough of that. Still, I cannot argue with that. That's to be protection. We have to ensure that everyone is safe. And whilst there will be people that are against any level of authority and will argue that their experiences with the authorities had been unjust, unfair, and to some extent quite harsh. I'm not going to dismiss any of those experiences. It is better to have something enforced than to not enforce anything at all. Otherwise, that will give people the impression of doing the heck. This would give people the impression of they can do whatever the heck they like, even if it means causing harm to people and abusing any welfare resources that would have otherwise gone to those in most urgent need. So anyway, back to Stephen A. Smith making his bid to run for president. I'm interested how this goes. I don't expect him to go far. He will certainly have a few ideas that he will share during the primaries and the caucuses. And there will be a handful of people, whether it be the donors that are donating money to keep his campaign running, or is the everyday average Joe that are, that are on board with what he is saying. I want to see how Stephen A. Smith does during his campaign to be the next president. Although unlikely, it'd be very interesting to see how far he will go, despite the odds certainly being against him. The further the primaries and the caucuses go, up until the next U.S. presidential election. Next, Risk 11 has sent a series of screenshots from a Twitter X post. I can't tell what's the name of the author of this post. Risk 11 just sent screenshots from a Twitter X post. That Twitter X post reads, Unrealized gains tax for Gen Z. You buy a Pokemon card for $50. Someone offers you $500 for it. You say no. You love that card. You're keeping it. The government says, cool, but that card is worth $500 now. You owe us $100 in taxes. Then you'll be like, I didn't sell it. The government replies, don't care, pay up. You don't have $100 lying around. So you're forced to sell the card you love just to pay a tax on money you never received. Next month, that card drops back to $50. Your card is gone. Your money is gone. And the government shrugs. That's a wealth tax on unrealized gains. They don't pay you back the tax. Now picture this. Your mum calls you crying. She has to sell the house she raised you in. Not because she can't afford it. She's lived there 30 years. It's paid off. But some website says it's worth more now, and the government says she owes $15,000 she doesn't have. So she sells your childhood home, the kitchen where she made you breakfast, the door frame where she marked your height every birthday. Gone. To pay tax on money that was never real. Now picture the opposite. Your dad put everything into a small business. For 20 years he built it from nothing. One year the business is valued, quote unquote, at $2 million on paper. He owes a massive tax bill. He empties his savings, sells his truck, borrows money, pays it. Next year, the market crashes. His business is worth $200,000. He lost everything. He lost everything to pay a tax on a number that doesn't exist anymore. Does the government give him his money back? No. Does the government give him his truck back? No. Does the government care? No. They sold this idea as quote-unquote taxing billionaires. But billionaires have armies of lawyers, offshore accounts, and trusts. They'll be fine. You know who won't be fine? Question mark. Your mum. Your dad. Your neighbor with a small business. The farmer down the road, who's had the same land for 4 generations and now has to sell it. Because dirt got expensive. You're not taxing wealth. You're taxing people for owning things. It's like getting a parking ticket for a car you might drive somewhere someday. They want you to own nothing and be happy, to fund the fraud, waste, and abuse of the welfare state they created. There is enough money. More taxes are needed. It's all a lie. But you've been gaslit into believing this is a rich versus poor debate. I hope you understand what's at stake. And that is the Twitter X post that Risk11 has shared into the group chat. Whilst I'm not going to say we shouldn't be paying tax, I'm not going to say we shouldn't be paying taxes to any level of government. I would argue that the taxes that being paid in the Western world is rather too high. The only cases where paying high taxes is acceptable is if the public services that's being provided by the national or local governments is the best in the world. It is world class. If that's the case, then paying high taxes is understandable. Otherwise, look, I'm not against paying taxes. I am against paying too much of it, only for that amount of money that goes to the government to not be used towards any capacity whatsoever. If you're going to be taxed on something, at least have the money that has been taxed on to go towards something necessary and useful in our day-to-day lives. That I will say. And in the capital gains on unrealized gains, in my opinion, it's not just stupid, it is dangerously risky. If that is the only form of tax you're relying on, there won't be any money left to fund any public services. Keyword here, unrealized. You don't know how much of that unrealized gains has been taxed, and how much of that money will go towards something. Even if that unrealized gain tax money has gone towards something, is that money enough to cover public services for the entire year? If the answer is no, then continue on the search for another form of taxes that will certainly get a wide range of money that would then have where the money that's been contributed from everyday citizens to then go towards public services that provides the utmost benefit to local people. Now, of course, if Risk was on here, he will have every argument against any form of public services in general, whatsoever. I have a feeling that Risk is more of a privatization kind of guy. And whilst, in my opinion, it is important to have some private businesses in local areas, don't don't only have private businesses. There should be a mix of private and public entities in local areas, providing a balance of options for local people and financial safety nets in case, well, economic situations go terribly wrong. That's just my opinion. And that is all of the most recent posts that have been shared into the group chat. I can't lie, it's a lot of the stuff's been quite pickle in recent times, so yeah, I don't know what else to say from there. With that being said, let's get right into the news, or at least the rest of the news that social media isn't going to talk about all that often. UK unemployment rate hits 5-year high of 5.2% as wage growth slows. This morning, the Office for National Statistics reported UK unemployment rate rose to 5.2% in the 3 months to December, up from 5.1%. The Chancellor's October 2024 budget raised employer national insurance contributions by £25 billion, and UK joblessness trend since 2022 reflects a longer slowdown in the labour market. Pay growth slowed, falling to 4.2% year-on-year, down from 4.5% in November and matching forecasts. This month, the Bank of England, MPC, voted 5-4 to keep borrowing costs at 3.75%, prompting financial markets to price nearly 50% chance of a quarter-point cut. The labour market weakness bolsters the case for a March cut to 3.5%, and inflation data published on Wednesday with a CPI forecast of 3% will be critical for the MP. It's not looking good. If employment rates are increasing, something's up. I'm hearing a lot from I'm hearing a lot of people on social media, mostly Gen Z, saying, I'm trying to get a job for so long, but people keep rejecting me or just ghost me. And the thing is, few of them send thousands upon thousands of applications to get at least 1% being anywhere along the lines between moving on to the next round or to get a response saying, sorry, we gave this position to someone else. And yet, unemployment is still on the rise. Now, now I understand sounds stupid because if employers have this mindset of just not hiring that many people, well, so many people, especially graduating from university, are trying to look for jobs, and it's very tiring for them. And then a lot of employers say, "Oh, I'm sorry, we have given this position to someone else." Then, of course, the employment rate is going to continue increasing. What's even worse is how not all, most employers are opening new positions in hopes that they would get someone on board, and still have the nerve to turn down most of the applications that are the most legitimate of them all. I feel there should be some way to observe what these application processes look like for businesses that have any positions opening in any capacity. Of course, there are apps already created where people can automate their CVs to employers, or even automate the creation of their CVs that they will then send to employers in hopes they can get a position in any company they want to apply for. Even such tools and resources exist, which is very accessible. There's still going to be employers that are going to be quite challenging to every applicant, and they will only allow the closest of their friends to get those positions instead. I don't know what else to say from this point. And also wage growth slows. I've heard a while ago that Poland's minimum wage increases in line with the national currency inflation. So depending on the inflation percentage for that year, that's how much Poland's minimum wage will go up by. Like the wages in Poland will go up 5.2% if 5.2% is the growth, is the inflation rate of Poland's economy for that year or the year previously. At least that makes sense. If there was a way for wages to continue to grow in line with something, then fair enough. Don't just increase wages by an extortionate amount all in one go. It has to grow gradually with time. That I would say. I'm getting a bit tired of these stories like this. There isn't much going on other than those stories. Okay, protesters march in Kosovo as ex-president's war crimes trial nears end. Kosovo is marking its 18th anniversary of independence with protests and celebrations as the trial of former President Hashim Thaci overshadows the occasion. Thaci and three other former Kosovo Liberation Army (KLA) commanders are accused of war crimes and have been in pre-trial detention since November 2020. The prosecution has requested a 45-year prison sentence for Thaci, alleging the KLA committed crimes to consolidate control over Kosovo, while the defense rejects the allegations. Yeah, Kosovo's a very hot topic, especially for Serbians. People in Serbia will say, Kosovo's not a country, it's an administrative region, it's within our country. Personally, I agree with them on that part. Even when there are countries that do recognize Kosovo as an independent nation, until Kosovo is a member of the United Nations, personally, I'd call Kosovo a autonomously administrative region within Serbia. I don't have anything against people in Kosovo. On a geographic standpoint, that's how I see Kosovo. The There are maybe countries that recognize Kosovo as an independent nation. Until Kosovo is a member of the United Nations, Kosovo is going to remain as an autonomously administrated region, and there is autonomy within Kosovo. I will say that, just not at the levels of every other country that is members of the United Nations. That's just my take on that. I want to see how it goes with Kosovo. Until then, there isn't much for Kosovo to get into. There isn't much that Kosovo can do to solidify themselves as a independent nation in the eyes of other UN nation across the world. And of course, in regards to the story about an ex-president's war crime trial, war crimes are never good. They're awful. There's no doubt about that. And whatever the details of that trial is, surely someone is going to pay the price. And even if it doesn't come about sooner, justice will be served to some capacity. Hopefully, something gets resolved in that trial in Kosovo. I'm not going to say that it's going to be done and dusted. I'm not even sure how long that's been going on for. It is serious if war crimes are involved. They're never okay. Even if there is some way to say, oh, it's not, yeah, but this person only did the things he has done in self-defense for his own people. Even then, there has to be something called out in regards to the execution, not just the intention of what people have done in the past. I can't. There's not much for me to say. There isn't much I know about on this story. All I know is this is a trial regarding war crimes by an ex-president of Kosovo, and all I can say is justice will be served. Maybe not now, not this month, maybe not even this year. At some point, some amount of justice will be served, and someone somewhere around the world is going to be happy about the outcome where the justice has been served. So yeah, that's all I have to say on that. And that is it for the episode.